Hi, welcome back to the Daily Increment. I'm Daniel Susser, Agile Coach, and today we're going to be looking at assumption mapping on this map. So we've looked at the lean business model canvas for a mask pouch business. So what I've done here is I've written on some post-it notes some assumptions that I've made about my model. So as a reminder, I've said I think that city dwellers with no children forget their masks when they go out, and that's really annoying. So I've had an idea, which is a mask pouch on a keyring. So I think the problem is I keep forgetting my mask. The solution is a mask pouch on a keyring. The value proposition is remember your keys, remember your mask. I think that my first mover advantage will let me win in the marketplace. And I've narrowed down, I think that I want to use Facebook ads as my channel to get through to my customers. We'll go at £3 a pouch. We think it'll cost about £1 to manufacture, and we're going to spend some money on advertising, and we're going to try and measure the number of purchases we have. So the big question that people have with their startup ideas often is, what do I test next? What goes in my minimal viable product? Or what goes in my first iteration, whatever words you're using. So assumption mapping is a way that can help you decide what goes first. And it goes like this. I've written these assumptions, things that need to be true for this model to work. So forgetting mask is a problem. That's an assumption that I'm making. If I find out that no one forgets their mask, my business is not a thing. I assume that users take their keys with them when they leave the house. I assume that the value proposition, i.e. remember your keys, remember your mask, is valuable to users. I assume that's something that appeals. I put a couple of assumptions about the channel. So my users are on Facebook is one, and that my users buy stuff from Facebook is another. If neither of those are true, then my idea to sell stuff to them from Facebook is not going to work. I've also put £3 as a reasonable price. So I've got all those assumptions. How do I know which is the most important one? And what we're going to use to solve that is this assumption map. On the y-axis, we have impact if wrong, i.e. high impact if we're wrong about this assumption, and there's low impact if we're wrong about this assumption. And then on the x-axis we have uncertainty. So certain, uncertain. And the idea is we're going to map each of these assumptions onto this map. We're going to map all these assumptions onto this graph in order to give us some priority over which ones we should test first. So forgetting masks is a problem. What's the impact if that's wrong? It's actually very, very high, right? If no one forgets their mask, that sort of ruins me. What's the certainty? How certain am I that forgetting masks is a problem? I actually think it is a problem. I actually think I do know that it is a problem, so I'm going to put it quite low down, the uncertainty. Okay? Users take their keys with them when they leave the house. So again, if that is wrong, that is a big deal, because if users don't take their keys, if actually they leave it with the concierge or whatever, or they have a retinal scan ID face thing, then my idea to sell them something that they take on their keyring isn't going to work. So that's a big deal, but I'm actually very, very sure, I'm even more certain that people take their keys than I am that forgetting mask is a problem. So I'm going to put this at the very bottom of the uncertainty bit. Okay? Value proposition is valuable to users. So here's one that the impact is quite low if it's wrong, because I can just change it. I can reword it. But actually I'm really not sure if this is a useful thing. I'm definitely more unsure about the value proposition being good than I am about forgetting mask being a problem. So I'm going to put it about here. It's about halfway up on both. I dropped a post-it note. I'll pick it up later. My users are on Facebook. I am pretty sure about that. Right down here, because loads of people are on Facebook. But if they're not on Facebook, it's like I could change platform. I could do something. I could find another thing, but it's quite high. So I'm going to put it over here, underneath the users take their keys, because it's less important than that. This is the post-it note that I dropped. That was a nice view of my neck that you got. My users buy stuff from Facebook. So this one is this is as impactful as users are on Facebook, but it's much more uncertain because it's a smaller group, right? There's people that are on Facebook and there's people that buy stuff from Facebook, or a smaller group there. And I'm not sure if my guys do that. So I'm going to put this quite far up. Do my users buy stuff from Facebook? Especially stuff like this. Maybe if I would go back and write, buy mask-related COVID purchases. And then £3 is a reasonable price. Again, the impact is not so high of that being wrong, because I can change it. And I'm also not really sure, so I'm going to put that quite high up as well. I think it's less impactful than that. This is only because, for me, price is not an important part of the model because I haven't really worked it out. But let's say you said £3 is the absolute minimum I could go. Anything less than that and this thing doesn't work, then it might be that this would go even higher. So that's up to the model there. So what I have now is quite a good stratification of these assumptions. Why do I want an assumption map at all? Because the best thing you can do in your startup, or the currency you're expending in your startup idea, is time. I.e., you have until the money runs out and you become poor. You have sunk all your money into your idea and you haven't found the right thing yet, or you have until you run out of interest on it. So, because the main thing that is not known in your startup is what the customer wants and which bits of your idea are going to work or not, the quicker you can find out which parts of your startup work, the less time you'll be spending on the wrong stuff, and then the more likely you'll be finding that you're doing the right stuff. So you want to be learning quickly, and you want to prioritize learning. So assumption mapping helps you prioritize learning because it helps you decide what's the most important stuff for you to learn, and then it helps you design tests accordingly. So according to this, what I want to be doing is taking the stuff at the top right of this graph and testing that first. So for example, my users buy stuff from Facebook is really important. And actually, I'm going to clarify that. I'm going to say my users buy stuff, my users will buy this from Facebook. Is actually the most important one. It's the most uncertain, most high impacting thing that I have. And then the next set of things I might look at is probably this value proposition one. And then after that, I can test, is forgetting mask a problem, something like that. Now, not all of these assumptions will be tested as easily. So you could also draw a different map where you look at ease of testing. So for example, what I mean is forgetting masks is a problem. That's really easy to test. I just have to ask people what's a problem for you vis-a-vis masks and see what they say. Mum test video. When it comes to will my users buy this from Facebook, is the value proposition useful? Then I have a slightly harder test to do, which is a smoke test or something like that. So I will refer you onto my smoke test video, which I did yesterday. But this is the role of assumptions and assumption mapping in your startup. You define your model. This is your plan A. You map the stuff that could be wrong. You work out which of it is the most important. You test that first. And everything you're doing that is testing something in this quadrant and not in that quadrant is a waste of your time because you're not testing the most uncertain, the most important thing, and that is likely to screw you in the long term. So, or even in the short term. That's the role of assumption mapping. See you next time.